Hola, hola. I am Trek with two Ks,
And I am 3D, and welcome to Metaverses the Other Side.
brought to you here on the Gentleman of Crypto Network. Just a heads up, this episode is before we had the idea of bringing the Twitter spaces to the Gentleman of Crypto Network. And so that's why we're talking about the stuff that we're talking about in this episode.
I'm just saying I think there's multiple reasons for it, including your point. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, wait. Sorry. Agree with your point, and it is a legal strategy. But what I'm saying is it's a legal strategy for Wall Street and other types of entities on that scale to be able to move money into the space that they can't do through their more traditional means of how they invest into new industries. That's what I'm saying. Like,
So like for,
Okay.
yeah, so like for example, Ethereum has their foundation, which was originally set up to pay Vitalik and a few other people because they wanted to separate their financial responsibility to Ethereum. But also what that allowed them to do is accept donations from like West and a bunch of other ginormous corporations and programs and entities um, to Ethereum itself, especially during the merger was when they saw some of the biggest influx of funds into the Ethereum Foundation to be then distributed back into Ethereum in some form. So that advanced what he's talking about,
yes. And well, you know, Ethereum. So, okay. You know how there's this whole big push in the Ethereum ecosystem about like, oh, it's green friendly, blah, blah, blah. Um, there's a grant or something that the United Nations has. And I've heard that there's going to be regulation that comes down the pipe later on in this decade about how if you're applying business money or if you're doing a startup or like you need extra funding or whatever, like you have to have in your business plan that your business is somehow green related. And it
Yeah,
opens you
so
up
I've heard of that. Yeah.
and it opens
Yeah.
up
I
to
know
a
what you're
whole
talking
new
about.
level of money or a whole different pot. I've heard Ethereum Foundation is doing stuff to apply or and doing some work level stuff with
I've heard those rumors too. Yeah. I know what
yeah,
you're talking about.
a
I've
little
heard
bit.
the rumors.
But like, I didn't first hear about it on like those side. I heard about it on the traditional business side first.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then, um, where I was and what I was listening to, who I was talking with, but like, that's why I first heard it about, hey, here's how they're going to start pushing the whole green energy move and the whole green sustainability thing and like electric, whatever stuff. What they're going to start making the borrowing of money businesses can green move. Oh, that's really smart. That's a smart way to do it. Like, so yeah, like it, it goes into a whole nother thing of just like, and this is us here in the States, as far as the United States in particular, it's gonna be a thing. In West Europe, it's gonna be a thing. I don't know how well it'll play out in like Africa or Latin America or like the Asian countries, but the way that I heard it a couple months back was like you're gonna start to see it get pushed in the Western countries first. Now, granted, we're working into this recession as we are. So what are they saying? Like um the borrowing of money is drying up right now. And so even if you could get the money, the interest rates are crazy. So when we get past this period and when everyone comes back out with their ideas and they want to try to experiment, blah, 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 the rules are going to be in. Like, here's how you gotta, like, here's the conditions or how you are allowed to have access to this money. And then we'll see how many people come with it.
Now, I do want to point out that this is SDG, Sustainable Development Goals or growth. The first one was set up in 2015 in the UN. So like that was the first time we actually saw it.
Okay.
Yes. Hey, what's going on, Leafs? Wait,
Yeah, at least, man,
like, what? Not
it's
like,
I'm not sure that I tried already too. I believe that's Mr. Danish and Miss Danish. Their king.
Okay. Well, what's going on nonetheless? Um, yeah, we had a whole topic that we were supposed to talk about, which we're gonna have to do at some other date. Uh, we've been talking about DAOs, we've been talking about history, we've been talking about innovation in the prohibition alcohol industry. Um, we've covered a range of things or at like a 2 hour marker. So if whoever listens to this afterwards, and if you make it to this point, I thank you very much for listening to this whole thing. We definitely ran all over the place tonight and did not stick to topic at all. I appreciate it because I definitely got some insight on things
My
to make
bad,
it
man.
structure.
My bad.
So yeah.
But I will say to try to redeem myself. By accidentally getting off topic. A lot of this can be tied back to the new workplace being remote. Because, like what 3D said earlier in the conversation, if you have these people coming in and then they're building up little spaces, even if it's not their metaverse, but they have a space in the metaverse, then they can gatekeep or even censor who is in their club or who can speak, or even the platform itself. Some platforms can pretend that they're like, oh, we're fully on the blockchain, but they're not fully on the blockchain because then the next thing you know, you don't get your like maybe your avatar's in there, but you don't get your special like NFT like wares, like your outfit, um, because you did something wrong. Um, and then like what I think you mentioned earlier in the conversation, people can actually shut down certain payment methods, not like blockchain per se, but say you're in the metaverse and you signed up to be a part of like a smart contract, but that smart contract is editable, like it's not immutable. It still has like admin keys. Then they can be like, oh, well, you're not getting a percentage of our guild. Like the guild, like it's percentages to everyone, like people can cut them out. But then that goes back to the users, sort of, I guess, to make sure, hey, is this smart contract set in stone? Is it immutable? And then that's the issue, like, going back with the whole, like, repeating the fumbles of Web 1 and Web 2. Like, Web 3 is, like, on track to repeating the same problems when people are taking over, like, certain aspects of the space, and then they're getting away from its, like, foundations of the cypherpunk movement, um, where instead of making it where people are, sovereign, you're supposed to be sovereign and in control of your data. Like, they're just gonna market it, like what you were saying. Like, you just market it in a way, but you're not really living up to those, ideals or standards.
Cyberpunk
Yes.
is go ahead, 3D.
I was just gonna say, yeah. And a lot of times when you're doing stuff like you say, hey, I want to be a part of this contract, or whatever, you can't always tell when a contract is edible. You can't tell if they have privacies unless it's been done in the past. They have edited it in the past. You never really know because you could have something that's never been edited and then one day it gets edited and like I said, you're not in that edited version. You're in the old version. But
Yeah, exactly. Like I was saying, like users would have to be educated to even spot that, and most people aren't even like most people don't have the time. Like they have other
well,
work responsibilities. Like they're not
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, even like blockchain people, most blockchain people don't check the blockchain, and that is a problem.
Oh
But
well, I knew exactly when my former employee wrote me out of the next contract. I knew exactly when that happened because I was reading their contract. But yeah, go
that's
on.
just what move to go to. But most people won't even do that. Most dev people won't even do that. You know what I mean? They'll
Hold up,
just
wait.
they're all used
Devs?
to trusting stuff, and they haven't gotten out of
No
that.
way.
Don't
Like
trust
most
web.
devs don't even do that? Are you shitting me?
Yeah, no, I'm not. I'm not. There's tons of devs out there that work on like Ethereum and Tron and stuff like that, where they won't check the blockchain for anything unless they'll just like rely on either a third party app or the Explorer to say, yeah, this is an actual transaction or something. And they don't like sit down. And I've seen teams come out and say, we're the first of blah, 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 blah. And they're like the 25th version of some other fork of a version that they already forked from. You know, like, it's like they even the
Yeah.
devs forked a version of what was before them. So they all make those
Oh, I get what
claims.
you're saying. Yeah, there was people building a contract. This is like back in January. Totally different startup team. I met people at this like Meet Space conference. Like I physically went to a conference, and I thought since it was a physical conference, like surely there wouldn't be anything shady going on. But yeah, when they pulled me onto the Zoom call, and then I didn't like what I heard anyways on the Zoom call, but I was trying to give them a benefit of the doubt. So I was like, I want to see your code. I want to see your code. I want to see your code because I was going to verify it, right? Yo,
Mhm.
the minute I saw their code, they had copied a dude who had copied a dude. And like they didn't even change anything. They did not even change the author name. I was like, if you're actually gonna try the fake like it's your contract, at least change who wrote the like put your
Mm.
brand name on it. Like that's
What's
how horrible
funny
they were.
What's funny with Ethereum places to learn how to do smart contract coding, it actually says to leave that kind of stuff in there. And it says, at least let people know where your code came from. So like with
No, but
Ethereum
they straight up like
specifically,
lied
that's
about
actually,
it. No,
yeah,
no, like in
yeah,
the Zoom,
because
yeah, in
the
the
people
Zoom
talking to
call.
you, they're just like, okay, we got to make this work, right?
Yeah, because like in the Zoom call, I literally was like, did you code this yourself? Did you take from libraries? Did you copy it? Like, what did you do? They were like, oh, we coded it from scratch. Oh, really?
Yeah.
No.
Now I hear that often. And then you go look at the
Yeah.
code and it's all copy pasta. But like I said,
Yeah.
there are actual places that teach people how to do Solidity that say to do stuff like that. Say, well, just
That's
copy this over or fork this over. Now it's your code. Leave the name in there. Like that's all. It sounds like the people that you were talking to probably just paid for the $20 Solidity um, thing that you can get on Open Zeppelin or something like that, because all that type of stuff is in there.
oh damn. I did not know people were being taught to do that fire dumpster shit. Oh my God.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, well, the people teaching them, and like Solidity is not a programming language that came around in a normal way. It's mostly scammers teaching other people how they scam people.
Mm.
I mean, you think about it, the most successful coders in Ethereum to this day are either Velitic and the people on the Ethereum Foundation and scammers. Some of the best
Okay, that's
DeFi
true.
protocols were invented
Yeah.
by scammers.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
See?
I
And
didn't
that's
think
the
about it that
unfortunate
way.
part is programmed language.
But again, this goes to the thing of mass adoption is about streamlining the thing to the basic commercial product. That like the thing you made earlier about like cyberpunkism, how you stuff like that. Cyberpunkism was never meant to be mainstream or commercially viable, right? Because
Okay, that's true. It was never meant to be commercially viable. It was meant to onboard people to try to give people sovereignty, but no, yeah, it didn't have a profit model. You're correct. Yeah.
idea of like, hey, like we're gonna put this out here, and whoever has the point to get it, like this is been cool. It's across the chasm to get to it and be able to utilize it in the most efficient and effective way. It's not going to happen overnight, right? But that work to the current conditioning of inconvenience. Oh, I can literally just swipe and order here 5 minutes. Like I can say and I get answer automatic back to me, right? Those
Yeah.
conveniences, those types of like that's commercial to based on convenience there. Right now I'm going through learning clarity is what Stacks is built on. Their Stacks. Literally have to be reminding myself in my head on the concept of like the kind or the how it works. And I'm just like, yo, you're not supposed to get this in one sitting. This is a long run thing of months, years of you having to continuous that smart contract developer in that ego for the last like 8 weeks. So like that's 2 months. But like that's not most people, right? And this is even why we do the stuff with the metaverse toolbox thing. Like, oh, there's stuff. DAO, like being able to put together a metaverse. I literally found some where this lady was breaking down how to make entire graphic scenes and using Epic Games and Unreal Engine. And there's the free version setup, and then you can like the the joke I make for Web3 thing is Web3 is going to be for the non-coding people. All the products that are able to, you know, or ever, or all of the software that is going to be controlling X amount of the things that go on in our daily lives. Like most of the folks who interact with those things, not creators or devs, they would be end users. And this what I'm seeing, because there's more stuff coming out now about how to make without actually knowing the base level stuff. Like it could even in
Well, I would argue it's always going to gravitate towards that way anyways, because I do know of this concept, the concept of the closer, I'm going to butcher the saying though, the closer you are to the endpoint, to the user, the more lucrative you'll be, like the more profitable you'll be, because that's your point of making profit. Like the closer you
Yep.
get to selling the user is where, like, so if you're the base layer, you're the furthest away from the user. So like TCP/IP is never going to be profitable, like Amazon is. Amazon is literally shipping to the user. Like, you know what I mean? Like the closest endpoint to the user gets most of the money. So the
no,
non-coders,
okay,
the
well,
non-coders are gonna.
here's why I would argue
Uh,
with that metaphor, because during the gold rush, people who were doing the mining were the closest, but the banks and the people sold the
no,
fixed
I
access.
mean, I get what you're saying. Yeah, they're selling. No, I would argue that
The person
the
selling the
commodity.
gold was the first person to the end user, and they made the most amount of money.
Well, not only that, but the people selling the axe, they're
That's what I'm
selling
saying.
to a user. No, but the people digging for the gold, that's a commodity. Like, who the fuck are they gonna sell that to? They're just selling it on the open market.
Okay, so if we're talking
Wait,
about
wait,
the
but it
service
wasn't
of the
thought of as a
tools,
commodity. It was thought of as money.
Yeah, I mean, that's like saying, like, if you got a Bitcoin miner, you're gonna be the most profitable, but that's not true. Miners
no,
are
that'd
not
be
the
like
most.
saying if you're the one selling the Bitcoin miners, you're going to be the most profitable amongst the miners.
But yeah, the pickaxes, but that's not even true. Like the companies selling the hardware for the miners, the ASICs, and even the miners that are still using GPUs, like what Ethereum used to do before they needed to prove a stake. Even those companies were not as profitable as, say, like crypto coin or token startups like that launch, or like the centralized exchanges, or even the DEXs, but the centralized exchanges.
Well, that's still not
Those
a
people are.
complete comparison. So it'd be like, hey, all right, you're making the ASICs, I'm buying ASICs and mining with them, right? You're going to ultimately make more money off from me because a large portion of money I make is just going to automatically go back to you so I can continue making that
I
money
get what
because
you're
my job
saying,
gets harder.
but what I'm saying is, like, all of that is like material and it's still furthest away. So the closest thing that you can be right now, like, I guess for these metaphors, is I'm telling you, like, the exchange. If you're an exchange, like, you don't even have that that bulk of infrastructure. You have very little infrastructure because it doesn't take much to run the exchange, especially if you want to do it like profitably.
Exchanges still make more money than one trader on their network.
That's what I'm saying. And the traders are the end user for them, for the exchange.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying
Yeah.
to say is in this whole model, like even if you're the person selling the miner hardware, and even if you're the person who's the miner, you're still never going to be as profitable as the founder of a centralized exchange. The founder of the centralized exchange is literally the closest because they get all the traders. They're at that endpoint.
Well, that's just a different
Like,
market perspective, though.
That's what I feel like too, because if I look at it from a value chain perspective, the change as far as like the token or the coin, the exchange is actually like way lower down on the totem pole. Because in a value chain perspective, arguably the miner is at the top of it because that's where the coin or token is being generated from.
I get what you're saying, and like
That's just the work though.
hypothetically, I agree, but I'm saying like it's not actually profitable. Like that's how the value, how like the Coinbase is brought about. Like if we're talking about Bitcoin, the Coinbase where it's first created. But no, from like just the outside system, the fiat system, it it's different. Like you don't need to be the miner. Like the miner is actually not the most profitable at all. But I get what you're saying. I
But we're
think
just
those are
talking
like
about in
different
terms of the
perspectives.
scope. Like if you look in terms of the scope, if you go, okay, I'm just looking at the people that produce the things for the miners to use the mine versus I'm just looking at the marketplace designed for traders to be able to trade. You know, the one providing normally is more profitable to the one using the provisions, right?
Mhm.
But the marketplace is more profitable because it's able to work at scale because it's software.
Yeah, it's got a big
Using
scale.
the software
Yeah, that's what I
side
meant
of
by
interaction.
yeah. Yeah.
I guess I'm in here a little late. What are we
That's what it looks
discussing? All right.
At this point, now we talk about mining and like scalability and like what works in regards to use within the profitability as far as being closer to the end, which is the user. Like if you look at it from a value chain point of who's higher in importance within the value chain structure of, we're talking about the blockchain crypto space, but in the overall, we jumped on a number of different things, man, but it just so happens to be where we are now.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I
sorry.
had on the call with one of my kind of back here.
All right. So
I'm definitely interested in it.
you're going in and out.
Yeah, sorry about that. Sorry, I want to learn more about the builder DAOs. What I was
Okay. Oh, you know what? That goes back. Yeah, we started that at the beginning. So in part, you were, so Amaris had the question based on a current client that she was dealing with and how they were looking to approach the setting up of their token, their DAO. And she was asking about what we're doing with the builder DAO and like, how are we looking at that whole like regulatory space thing? And my point was like, well, we're not dealing with fiat. Like you got to actually do work to get the token. Well, first you got to get the NFT side of it. If you're talking about the
yeah, don't give me a red. I'm pretty need it. And Drake's got it too. So just call Reggie.
yeah. So that's a whole nother scenario. That's a whole nother rabbit hole to run down. I have a whole bunch of thoughts on that one too. But yeah. So I was just making a distinction between like how our thing works compared to what she was dealing with, and so yeah. So, okay, basically, let me also give a little bit of backstory so you get catch up on this, and then like anybody else who listens to this after we already had this account on Twitter, and when we had the custodial L idea, yeah, where we were poking fun at the major exchanges, which was Binance, Coinbase, and Who was the other one?
FTX.
FTX, and some of the stuff that they were doing. And we were using the cartoon bears from Little Bears, the three bears.
We three bears.
Yeah. So this account was already existing. And then when we started the idea of doing our team building in Uplift Metaverse, what happened? I then was talking to somebody at DeFi Philly, and I brought the idea back to 3D, and he was like, well, we could just do this to make the DAO. And then like X amount of days later, he was like, yo, it's only going to cost us this much to make, actually like get the smart contract and stuff and like customize it to the way we need it. And so for way less than what either of us thought it would be, we were able to spin up a DAO within the blockchain, which is off of EOS. And our NFT, okay, this is what actually started that whole thing. We were talking about faucets in a metaverse. And I was like, why does no one have a faucet in a metaverse? So we have the first faucet that works in the Uplift Metaverse. And that's what our DAO, the DAO that we have goes towards the NFT that faucet. So it's a different setup than what you were talking about. Whereas like our thing, it's a different setup. So,
and then to say like where we're at right now. So we have the main first DAO set up, the actual builder DAO, for submitting projects and submitting work orders to do projects. But we've been staking some NFTs to try to get Wojak tokens to pay for the next DAO, so we don't have to actually put any more money in. But we also right now we do have the faucet loop where we do have NFTs for sale on Nifty blocks. I think you can just look up We Are Builder DAO, and with that, when you buy that NFT, it allows you to be able to stake for the actual tokens to become a part of the system. But for everybody who buys one, we basically are also putting one up into the faucet inside Uplift, the actual metaverse Minecraft game or server. So that way, for everyone that buys one, there's a chance they could actually go play back in and get one for free, or anybody else playing Uplift will be able to get one for free to get back. And we're trying to get, just like I said, enough Wojak tokens to get the next DAO, which would be the member DAO, that allows members of the builder DAO to talk to each other and also to be able to do other actions, including like communicate workload and stuff like that, or even trades, all throughout, all on chain on Wax, and not having to worry about how we can communicate. We all can just communicate on the same chain. And then after that, when we get that one, I will then have enough Wojak. I already have enough Wojak NFTs to do this. We have enough Wojak NFTs to do the final DAO, which is the final DAO that will allow control over the builder DAO. So the builder DAO controls the member DAO. The final DAO controls the builder DAO, and then both builder DAO and the other DAO controls. I was like, yeah, so each one controls a different DAO. So you'd have to overtake all three DAOs to take over the entire system. I didn't explain it very well. I got a little bit confused there, but yeah. So it's just then we got to figure out how to separate the keys, or to automatically set up a contract or something to add keys onto the active key list. But because we're still trying to figure out how to decentralize the keys that actually hold the builder DAO. Well, it will hold all the DAOs, actually, all three DAOs in one key. I'm trying to figure that out, because if we can get it to where a bunch of people have access to that key, yeah, sure, stuff can get updated, but stuff can be changed back. But at the same time, you have to pay fees to do them each time. So we're hoping that fee over convenience. So like the more often it gets changed around, the more people got to pay. So we're just hoping that will keep people from doing some kind of weird war where they change the name of stuff and stuff over and over and over.
A lot of, there's a lot of gamification things you have to worry about. Like that's that's the interesting learning curve process of, all right, you set up the DAO, and it's like, all right, well, how can somebody fuck my shit up? Or
So
like,
does
how
Builder
do you-
DAO, so does Builder DAO own properties in Uplift?
No, we're not
Uh,
affiliation. We just doing it on where they do know about us.
yeah.
I know, but y'all are building an Uplift, but does the DAO itself own properties? Or are you?
Oh yeah. It has a plot. I can look up the plot address for you.
Okay. I was just curious how that works. So the DAO itself owns the property.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's an actual property for everyone to communicate and converse and stuff.
Okay.
But when people submit projects into the Builder DAO members then basically can they say, hey, I want to do that project. I want to build for you or whatever. And during that time frame, anytime that we have a member working on a plot, they can, if they have access to the key, they'd be able to then put up a faucet NFT for people to gain attraction. So we're hoping that members in the Builder DAO will also help get more of this stuff known throughout the Uplift.
Yeah,
And
because
to be honest, say what?
I myself, I have 10 plots in Uplift. So I was just curious.
Now, if you want to, actually, I probably need to just DM you later about this then. I have actually contacted another group of people that have a bunch of plots on, in the Uplift, and I basically gifted them a bunch of NFTs. We made a custom NFT to go into our faucet NFTs because we can actually change what is on the cover of that faucet NFT for each new set of mints. And so what we can do is we can do like an advertising thing. We'll put your data that you want on the cover of the NFT. We'll produce the NFTs and then send them to you for you to do the claim links to be able to use as faucets or gifts or whatever you would like. Because that's a large number of plots, and we would definitely love to help you, help us help you. Like with you putting out NFTs on your property, makes people want to show up, which definitely helps you in the game of how the Uplift pays out and stuff. But also if you're trying to sell a property, putting stuff on that plot where people can obtain free NFT or something. And then like beside that, having another sign to let people know how to purchase that plot. That is just another marketing technique you could be using to do some kind of attraction to sell, kind of like open houses that you see in real life, but on your actual plot. Or if you're just, again, trying to get people to show up, you know how sometimes, and where I live, there was a house that was built that's like worth $1 million, and the person who bought the house never moved in. They just turned into an attraction. You can pay so much money and walk through the house and kind of get like a tour guide. So stuff like that. Yes, Trek.
All right. So if you made it to the third hour of this spaces tonight, I would like to point out, we are not giving financial advice to anybody. We are not CPAs. We are not lawyers. We are not out here telling anybody to go, quote, follow this because you'll be A-OK in whatever jurisdiction you're in. We're literally just two folks who happen to be like-minded in a number of things about this metaversal space and how things are developing. And we like to share our thoughts with each other, kind of do it in this public forum, and have folks like Bobcat and Amira come through and like share their experiences and thoughts too. And so we get to learn some things in this open dialogue. But this is not financial advice in any which way. So whatever you go do, make sure you talk to a lawyer who's related to where you are. Just saying.
Yeah, we're just bouncing off ideas and trying to see different perspectives between each other. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And back to the Builder DAO, but yeah. So right now it's just, I guess, marketing, trying to get it out there that people that we exist and stuff like that.
But yeah, definitely we'll DM Doug, so we'll get together.
Awesome
Okay.
sauce. Yeah.
So, okay. So this goes to the other thing that I was saying to 3D a while ago about, like, not a while ago, like not recently, about like, hey, let's just switch over the custodial L's to the Builder DAO thing. because as we all know, like depending on how your project moves, the copycats and the scammers are out there, and Twitter is the place that it is in the crypto space, as well as a couple of other different platforms like Telegram. So that's the other thing of like why I brought up like, hey, we should actually bring the logo and everything over and the name and all over here so that like people can have another place to look and have a relative idea of like, okay, I know that's them. Other thing to add in is the Universal Toolbox. What I did the other day, I made a list. So all of the companies that have a Twitter account that are in the Metaversal Toolbox that we have put together, I have a list that basically have all of their accounts on it. It's also interesting that one or two of the companies do not have any Twitter presence. I don't know if that was like an intentional thing or is it that they're just like relatively too new. But if you look at the list that we have on the Builder DAO, all of those companies are actually like no code, low code, open source, free options to be able to build in the metaverse, or metaverses, I should say it that way. So yeah. Thank you for this opportunity to be able to bring up the list, because I've been telling 3D, I think we need to work on like pushing the awareness for the builder now, but also doing it based on, hey, we have this toolbox, we have a list, here's the resources, like here, it's all collected. We like break down what they do, but if you don't actually do need to work, we do that part too. That's enough for my house cleaning as far as like advertising or, talking about what we do.
I'm actually posting the link to the Metaverse Toolbox right now underneath this space tweet. So if you're listening to this later, or anyone here right now, if you want to go check it out, just go ahead and use that link. Now it is on IPFS, so there's a chance that when you first try to load it, it might not pop up. Just keep trying to reload it, let it go through its thing, and it will eventually come up. We have been getting, there for a while, we had got dropped from all of our pins, but we're getting more pins back out, and we have been, and I've actually seen, I think it's like 2 other people that are now hosting the file. So there are more people hosting it, it's letting people access that website in a decentralized manner now. And I still have stuff I have to actually add into the Metaverse Toolbox. I haven't gotten to it yet. I'll probably get to it by Monday or Tuesday. That are going to just extend services available that you will be able to do. I think there's ones that we have. I think one of them is kind of code ready, but the other 2 are pretty much no code. And that is the great thing about the Metaverse Toolbox. Like, whether you code, you don't code, you're just getting into it, or you're an expert and you've been doing this for a long time, we have something for you. Like, for example, we actually have ways and links to get you to a place where you can code a Solidity contract without knowing any code whatsoever. And it looks and feels just like Scratch. So it's that plug and play. If it works, it lets you continue. If it don't, it tells you type of trial and error to build. But we also even have stuff on there that will take any contract that you can find and turn it into a simple text document. So I'm like, so if you're trying to streamline, modify, edit, and continue, learn from, build on, we have something for you.
Hashtag we not for it. Keep saying this shit. Like, here you go. And this goes to something you making the point of earlier, about like the profitability, right? Again, like the things that sort of have these are companies that are centralized some way, but they built a model based on open source tech, right? And like there are other things that are more decentralized, free, open source, whatever. Also thing to note, we can't guarantee that these particular softwares will always be available, right? If they're a nonprofit, group of folks that are together, or just people put together, I mean, they could be here for the next 5 years and then maybe go 10. Like this whole thing of making decentralized or all inclusive or open source type of software, it isn't the most sustainable model. And so it also isn't the most easiest tech to deal with. Even, we're saying like these are like low code, no code. And I had brought this point up, I think a couple of Thursdays ago. Even in this regard, this is why I say like metaverse are following the same trajectory as websites, because it went from where you had to have a high level or high ability of technology as far as being a coder to now just how you get doing websites on Wix and like GoDaddy. It's the same thing. It's a drag and drop model, or it's a drag and drop creation process to make a metaverse. That's where we are right now. And like, if like going to be in another 3 years, like how much simpler can this be? Because it's pretty damn simple right now.
Yeah, we're getting to a point where you can't get much more simple. I do want to point out we have found an actual website that is a metaverse that does initiate with NFTs. It's not fully on a blockchain or through a contract, but it does use NFTs for access control into different areas of this metaversal website. And this is like someone's personal website as a metaverse. And because I've actually seen this and because of some talks I've had, I'm actually been in the process of redoing my website. Like every time I do it, I redo it. And all right now, if I was to show you what it looks like, it says terminal 3D and it acts like a terminal. So like these types of metaverses where individuals can really change how it looks, how it feels, what it is. You can go from 3D, VR, AR metaverses to straight up old school text, BBs, ready to play metaverses. And in the end, you still get the end result. It pushes some kind of information, allows you to access something, and it allows you to be interactive either with the website, the software, or people around it.
That's where we are right now. It is 10:30 right now. We are here for a while going. Yeah, do you know how long this is gonna take me to freaking render? Oh my God.
So sorry, bro. So sorry. Actually, I gotta get going. I gotta make food for somebody. Because that's how I pay my rent. So I'm actually gonna dip out. Thank you guys for everybody. I was late. I'm gonna have to go back and listen to this too. I hope everybody else does. Enjoy.
All right, man. Nice talking to you.
Yep, enjoy.
All right. So I thank everybody for coming out. Appreciate. So again, until next Thursday, 8 p.m. This is what we do. Usually we try to act it, but it doesn't always work that way. And I'm not mad that it doesn't always work that way, because I learn some new shit and I get to be able to talk out my thoughts and like have a level of validation or so to it. But nonetheless, check out the list. If you might find something you might find something usable. It's literally in the profile thing. You can find and the link to the IPFS website for a detailed breakdown of the different products or tools. So, have a good evening and thanks for tapping in, though.
Thanks, Glenn. Thanks for hosting.
Bye.
Good night.